car I'm driving today scarcely needs any introduction at all. If you've driven anywhere on any roads at all in the past couple of years, you've seen one of them. It is the world's best-selling hybrid car, the Toyota Prius. This generation of the Prius went on sale in 2016, but this year there's something new about it. It adds all-wheel drive. Up front under the hood, things are still the same. You get a 1.8-litre gas engine and an electric motor generator giving you a combined 121 horsepower. But the Prius AWD-e, as it's called, has a different battery pack. And then back here, there's a new electric motor with 7 horsepower and 40 pound-feet of torque. And that's what makes this thing all-wheel drive. Now you might be thinking, that doesn't sound like a lot of power for the rear axle, and you're right. The Prius isn't meant to be all-wheel drive all the time. Rather, the system is there to help get you unstuck on slippery surfaces, things like gravel, snow, ice, maybe on a rainy day like today. Unfortunately, we are filming on the one day in Michigan when it isn't snowing, so I can't really demonstrate to you how the all-wheel drive system would work in the depths of winter. But hopefully this footage from Toyota will give you a better idea of how this car would cope with ice and snow. The rear motor is always active, helping out with acceleration at speeds between 0 and 6 miles an hour. And then from 6 to 43 miles an hour, it can kick in if necessary if the front wheels slip. There's also a little mode in the trip computer where I can monitor the activity of the all-wheel drive system if I want to. Now I do have to point out, if you're going to be using your Prius in severe winter weather, you really would be well served to get proper winter tires on it. These Dunlop Enersave tires are really all about low rolling resistance rather than intense snow and ice performance. But with all-wheel drive, this car is going to get going a little more easily in the snow than a standard Prius. Perhaps the most important question with a Prius, though, is how adding all-wheel drive affects fuel economy. And the good news is it doesn't make that big a difference. This car is rated for 52 miles per gallon city and 48 mpg highway. Those are decreases of only 2 mpg versus a standard car in each category. And just to put it more bluntly, this is the most fuel-efficient all-wheel drive non-plug-in car you can buy today. And those are just the window stickers. In real-world driving, I've been amazed at the fuel economy numbers I've been able to get, up into the high 50s, even into the mid-60s in just normal driving. I'm not hypermiling or driving 10 miles an hour below the speed limit. Even with all-wheel drive, the Prius is just incredibly fuel efficient, no matter how you drive it. Overall, this all-wheel drive model drives just like any other Prius, and that's a good thing. Now, I don't really love the vague and loose-feeling steering or the very floaty chassis, but this car is kind of ideally set up for everyday commuting in the suburbs. The ride is comfortable, the steering is very light, and you get great visibility in every direction because you've got a low belt line and big windows. It's frankly a car that's very easy to just jump into and drive without paying too much attention to it. Things aren't quite so great on the highway. You get a lot of wind and road noise, and while acceleration is adequate around town, the Prius feels pretty slow at highway speeds. And the gas engine, well, it sounds pretty thrashy and strained when you really push it. For 2019, the entire Toyota Prius lineup got a very mild facelift. But it still basically looks like a Prius, a little bit dorky, a little bit futuristic, all in the name of reducing aerodynamic drag. Now, I personally don't really like the looks of this car, but you have to remember that a lot of buyers really like having a car that instantly and unequivocally signals, oh yeah, this person is driving a hybrid. As for changes on the inside, you get more piano black trim and 2 new USB ports for backseat passengers. As ever, the inside of the Prius is very functional and very simple to use. I don't love the dorky little electric transmission shifter or the center-mounted instrument cluster, but honestly, they're so simple to use that after a couple of miles of driving, I kind of forget to be annoyed by them, really. On the other hand, this car is $32,000 and it doesn't have satellite radio or a powered driver's seat, and that is annoying. Overall, the cabin is so light and airy and roomy. There's tons of headroom and a good amount of legroom in the back seat. And the hatchback is spacious too, with about 25 cubic feet of storage space with the seats up. That's actually better than the new Mazda 3 hatchback. So how much extra do you pay to have all-wheel drive in your Prius? Well, actually not all that much. Adding all-wheel drive to the Prius LE costs only $1,400 extra, and adding it to the XLE trim, like the one I'm driving, is only $1,000 extra. That puts the cheapest all-wheel drive Prius at just over $27,000 with destination, which isn't that bad at all. At first blush, a Toyota Prius that gets slightly worse fuel economy and costs a little bit more sounds like a bad deal. But the truth is this car is still super fuel efficient, and you really can't put a price on the extra confidence a driver might get from having all-wheel drive in inclement weather. So for those reasons, I think the all-wheel drive Prius is going to be a hit, especially with buyers in the snowbelt.